gentlemen, and welcome to my review of Pokémon Sun and Moon Episode 5. This week's episode of Pokémon Sun and Moon was a waterific adventure, and that's because Ash and all of the other students from the Pokémon School learn about the fine art of fishing for water-type Pokémon, and they're going to be taught by none other than Lana, the trial captain of Brooklet Hill from Akala Island. This week's episode of Pokémon Sun and Moon certainly makes a splash as we get to spend some time with Lana, her twin sisters, and her signature Pokémon, Popplio. I'm starting to see a pattern with some of these early episodes of Pokémon Sun and Moon. Ash is going to spend some time with a brand new character, they're going to go on a wacky adventure, Team Rocket is going to intervene, rinse and repeat, sunrise, sunset. It's just like last week's episode where Ash caught a Rowlet and he was spending some time with Mallow. Unlike that episode, however, we got to learn a little bit more about Lana, her past, and why she's so connected to Popplio. Not just because she's so obsessed with water-type Pokemon and she happens to be an expert on them, but because she actually saved Popplio from being taken by Team Skull. I will say it is slightly disappointing that we don't get to spend more time with Team Skull, as they barely had any presence in the first couple episodes of the series. I'm waiting for that inevitable moment when they're actually going to go toe-to-toe with Team Rocket, just to see these two bumbling teams run into each other. I honestly think is a funny enough concept on its own. But this week's episode was certainly high on the last, not to mention it was another gorgeous and beautiful episode as we got to spend some time with some amazing water-type Pokemon. So, the main story in this episode is that Professor Kukui has decided that he's going to allow Lana to teach the class how to fish for Pokemon, because she's such an expert at it. There's a really great scene where Ash has just spent the day training with Lana and her Popplio, and they go back to her house, and he notices the Lapras, which is right outside. And you can just imagine the nostalgia that is rushing into Ash's head as he's reminded of his Lapras that he obtained in the Orange Islands, which they themselves were strikingly similar to Alola. We're also formally introduced to Lana's twin sisters, which are way more distinctive looking in terms of personality and design in the anime version than when compared to their game counterparts, which are just sort of like the random NPC twins that you see everywhere. They have a lot more personality here. They simply cannot contain themselves when they see Pikachu, which, according to Lana, on the island of Alola, Pikachu is incredibly popular. Big shock! Pikachu's popular everywhere. The rest of the episode is where things start to get slightly more interesting when all of the students, Professor Kukui and Ash, of course, go out and have a big demonstration in the water, where Lana is going to show them how to fish for Pokemon. They each get their very own individual fishing rods, and isn't it hilarious how all of their signature Pokemon are actually the lures, with Lana having a Popplio, Ash having a Pikachu, Sophocles having his Togedemaru, Kiyoway actually having a Charizard, Mallow having her Bounsweet. Another thing that I found really interesting about this scene is that a lot of them use ride Pokemon to go out into the ocean. Some of them use Lapras, and some of them use Wailmer, which is not a ride Pokemon in the game. So this lets us know that the Sun and Moon anime series is going to be taking some liberties, and we're probably going to be seeing a large variety of ride Pokemon. One thing that I found particularly funny about this scene is that Lily is still completely freaked out over Pokemon. She doesn't want to touch them, she doesn't want to be near them, but she's still incredibly fascinated by them. And in order for her to actually go out on this fishing trip, she actually wears this diving suit, which is borderline an astronaut's costume. This way she doesn't have to make any physical contact with any Pokemon. But of course, she's the lucky one who actually nabs one of the rarest Pokemon during their fishing journey. She catches a freaking Milotic on the line. Lana herself is also an expert at catching underwater Pokemon, as she has a great amount of respect for them. And you get to see that in the way that she actually treats the Pokemon that she catches. She doesn't simply just bring them up and throw a Pokeball at them, she actually tries to befriend them. And this is also really helpful because of her relationship with Popplio. And speaking of Popplio, he's sort of like modeled after a circus seal. He's very clownish, and he's able to create these giant water bubbles, which he can bounce on and actually put someone inside of. And Lana's dream is that she'll be able to go inside one of these bubbles so that she can go underwater and witness all of these amazing Pokemon as if she's in her very own mobile aquarium. It's pretty awesome. Of course, because everything is so pleasant, Team Rocket decides to intervene. And this is where it starts to feel like a really classic episode of Pokemon. We're talking Season 1 right here, because their plan is still the same. Capture Pikachu and any rare Pokemon that they can find. And they try to capture all of the Ride Pokemon, but thanks to the efforts of Lana's Popplio and, of course, Ash's Pikachu and Rowlet, they are able to save the day. But it leads to what I think is probably the funniest scene of the episode. When Team Rocket is falling out of the sky, instead of hitting the water, you see that big Beware that's been following them for the last couple of episodes just running across the water like some sort of Olympic Jesus, and he manages to catch them and run away with them. I don't know if they're going to catch this Beware, or if this Beware is just going to be following them to the very ends of the earth, but it's a really funny concept. So what's the rundown of this week's episode of Pokemon Sun and Moon? This felt like a really classic episode of Pokemon right here. Like, it really could have fit into just about every single season. Introduce a new character, introduce a problem, Ash helps solve that problem. Team Rocket comes in, they try to steal Pokemon, they get their asses handed to them, let's get to the next episode. But still, this was a really fun episode right here, which is just brimming with so much energy, and dare I say it, adorability. This is a really cute episode, and it's not too often that I say that, because I watch a lot of super high-octane action anime, and the main reason that I'm checking out the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime series is because I haven't watched it in years. That and the fact that I've been playing Pokemon Sun and Moon like non-stop for like the last week, and I've beaten the Elite Four, I've gotten to the post part of the game, and I'm still really loving it. And this is sort of like giving me an excuse to continue to live in this amazing world and see all of the characters within it. And I think it's doing a good job. Of course, it is taking some liberties. We have to remember that the anime series is separate from the game canon, so some of the storytelling is going to be a little different. But in many ways, I do think that's better. Like Lana's sisters, who I feel exude so much more personality in this episode than they even came close to in the game versions. Also, it's pretty much officially confirmed that Ash is not going to get a Popplio. I had a feeling that that was going to happen. I mean, there's still the chance that he could eventually get one, or maybe one of its evolved forms, but considering that it's the signature Pokemon of Lana, I have a feeling he's probably going to stick with Rowlet, and he'll probably get a Litten as well, because that Litten has been sort of popping up and having cameos in just about every episode, and there have been some preview imagery to showing Ash actually holding that Litten, so it's probably going to happen. The big question is, what's going to happen between Rowlet and Litten? Which one is going to evolve? Is one going to stay the same, or are they both going to evolve at the same time? I just can't wait to see that happen. Not to mention, we actually got to see Rowlet in action this week, which was really great. He was very helpful in taking down Team Rocket at the end of this week's episode. That being said, this was just a really fun, pleasant episode of Pokemon, which is just bubbly and cheery, and just put a big smile on my face the entire time. I'm still actually really enjoying the brand new art style, which, like I said in my previous reviews, I feel is breathing life into the Pokemon series, and just making it all the more inviting. That and the fact that it's just great to see all these brand new Pokemon in this amazing tropical setting. It really does feel natural and amazing. So, this was a great episode of Pokemon Sun and Moon, in my opinion. It was very stock, though. It's definitely following the old-school formula of Pokemon episodes. But again, we have to remember, we're still very early into the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime series. This is a series that's going to potentially go on for about 3 to 4 years, so there's a lot of room for development, and basically this is just an excuse to be introduced to a lot of the main characters from the series, that being the students of the Pokemon School. It seems like in the next episode, they might be focusing a little bit more on the character of Sophocles, who I think has a really abrasive personality, but that actually kind of fits with his favorite typing being electric-type Pokemon. But I can't wait to see Togedemaru and Pikachu actually interacting with each other in next week's episode. They might even get to have a battle, which I think is going to be great. I'm ready to see another traditional battle from the series, but we're probably going to have to wait a little bit before we get there. So, this was another good, pleasant episode, but it's not exactly breaking the mold, but it's totally watchable, especially for people who have been following the Pokemon series, and especially for younger viewers. So, I'm going to give this episode right here a 4 out of 5. Just a fantastic episode focusing on the character of Lana, who is timid, shy, super adorable, but super capable when it comes to mastering water Pokemon. So check it out, Pokemon fans. If any of you did watch this week's episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comments section below. Did you have a favorite Pokemon who appeared in this episode? What do you think of Popplio? Do you think that Ash is eventually going to get one, or is he just going to be Lana's signature Pokemon from the series? What do you hope to see from this brand new Pokemon anime? Please tell me in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to leave me a comment or two, subscribe to the channel, and if you liked this video, please give it a like. Thank you guys again for watching. I will see you next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.